Is it audible, Atanu sir? Hello,
Yes, sir. Welcome, sir.
good afternoon, and thank you.
Uh, let me just check me, sir, if my volume is low because. Can you, sir, check again the voice because the volume was a bit low then?
No, now this is fine. So, am I visible?
Yes. No, sir, your camera is not.
Okay, I don't know. See, if it is not visible, what is the reason?
Yes, sir, your camera, sir, is not visible, sir.
Yeah, I'll just log in again. Let me see.
Yes, sir.
Some problem. Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible now, sir. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon.
The voice is just a bit low, sir. If you can move the source of the mic to a bit
I
closer,
will.
that would help.
I will do that right away.
So just we are waiting for the participants to join.
That's fine.
Yes, sir.
I will just like to see whether I can load the presentation.
Yes, sir, we want to test that. And then we can wait while the participants join.
Yeah. So can you hear me now clearly? Is it
Yes,
clear?
sir. That's
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
it's good, sir. Perfectly okay, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
It's visible.
Yes, sir. Presentation. Just you can toggle, sir, and check once.
Yeah, that's what I would like to do. So let me see. This is share. Why is the presentation not moving is a mystery.
That's not working. Maybe the screen share function would help in that case, sir.
Yes,
No, it is moving, sir. Yes, sir, it is moving, sir.
now it's working. So let me see one more small thing, whether it is working or not.
Sir, are you planning to show some video? Because
There was one video which I was planning to show, but I think I'll drop it. Not an issue. Because that may actually not work so much. It's a small video, a minute video, 2 minutes video, but I'll drop that.
but it might not play well.
It may not play well. Bandwidth, it could be an issue. So I'll drop that.
Sir.
Thank you. और संजय जी कैसा चल रहा है? How are things? How is
Things are fine, sir. Things are all well.
That day, in fact, I was surprised. It took a lot of time to travel.
नहीं sir, वो लगता है. Time is variable, especially because of the weather conditions. It does take more.
Yeah, no. While going, it took me 4 hours only, 4 hours and 15 minutes. While coming, it took me more time because I left at around 5. I left MTI at around 5, I believe, and I reached there by 9:30. 9:30.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good
Alok
afternoon, sir.
DSP.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sanjay.
Thank you, Alokji. Thank you.
Testing done, sir. We'll wait for participant to join, sir. We have just scheduled time also for
Yeah, thank you.
start, sir. I request the participant who have joined to kindly, if you can switch on the cameras. We'll start the session shortly, sir. Thank you, sir. So you're also connected, Athanu, sir? Athanu, sir, you also connected?
Yes, yes, Rajesh.
Please connect.
Okay, shall we start, sir?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
sir. Thank you, sir. We're right on time, sir. We can start also, sir. So, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon to all the sir and madam who have joined, sir. And as we gather over here today for the event Antardrishti that truly marks the continuation of our journey towards the knowledge, growth, and progress. And at the start, I want to begin by extending my heartfelt gratitude to each one of you for joining. Your presence today is a testament to the fact of the commitment towards the leadership journey and the continuous learning process. As we embark for the another chapter of Antardrishti, the third in the series, it is an initiative. Just I will mention in short that it's the initiative that brought us closer to the thought leaders, industry experts, to have their valuable insights on the topics that will not only enrich our understanding to world but also inspire us. So thank you, and without further much ado, I will now request Shri Atanu Mukherjee sir to give the welcome address for today's session, sir, and set the tone.
Thank you, Mr. Rajesh. Good afternoon to all the chief general managers and executive directors who are present today in the online session of Antardrishti. And also I like to welcome our Dr. Ashis, who is our expert faculty for this session. Basically, this Antardrishti, this is the third in this series of Antardrishti we are conducting. And if you remember, the first we conducted on executive presence, and second is on ESG, and the third this we are having how to how we can have an empathetic conversation in the difficult issues. The basic purpose of this Antardrishti is that to provide a trigger to the face perspective through interactions with the the eminent professionals on various subjects which are most relevant in the role of leadership. So that is the basic objective or the purpose of conducting this Antardrishti. In today's interaction, we will be addressing the three things. One is that how do leaders exhibit the empathy in a context where the performance demands are high and cannot be compromised. So that is the first, area where Dr. Ashis will address this. And then the second thing is that how do leaders build a culture of radical candor in the workplace? The third thing we are discuss on how empathetic conversation address the emotional well-being of people without losing focus on performance goal. And for these addressing these three issues, our eminent professional faculties with us, Dr. Ashis sir is already connected. He is also an executive coach and adjunct professor of IIM Nagpur in the area of, especially in the area of HRM and OB. So with this, once again, my heartfelt thanks to you for sparing your valuable time with our CGMs and executive directors. And also, I'm sure that with your valuable, rich input, we'll be enlightened in many of the issues. So with this, wish you a very, very happy learning to all the CGMs and executive directors who are connected in today's Antardrishti session. Over to Raj. Over to Rajesh.
Thank you, sir, Atanu sir, and thank you for your warm welcome and insightful address. And you have truly set the tone for the session. And now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce our distinguished guide for today, Shri Ashis Jain sir. Very good afternoon, sir. Shri Ashis Jain sir is a true luminary in the realm of leadership and emotional intelligence. Sir has won various accolades and his experience span far and wide. He's an executive coach and adjunct professor at IIM Nagpur and an EI expert and also a Gallup strength coach. Sir has also held leadership positions in HPCL and L&T and have over more than 3 years of work experience in areas of organizational capability building and performance management. But beyond the titles, what truly sets the sir apart, Mr. Sen apart, is his ability to ignite the flames of transformation in the leaders. So get ready to be inspired, captivated, and enlightened by his insights as we delve into this world of empathetic communication. So without further ado, I invite Sri Ashis Sen sir to take the virtual stage. And just for information of the participant, we plan to have around 45 minutes of input from the sir, followed by Q&A of 5 to 10 minutes, so that 4 to 5 time 5 p.m. that we have taken time of your slot, we can plan accordingly. So welcome, sir, Ashis sir. Sir, if you can unmute yourself, sir.
Thank you so much. Let me thank
Yes.
Mr. Rajesh and Mr. Atanu for the kind words and Mr. Sanjay for inviting me over. It's always a pleasure to meet senior executives who have made a real difference in the real world. So as much as I would like to bring wisdom to the table, believe me, it is always the other way. With so many executives at senior levels, I think it's a good opportunity for me to learn. But I'll share some thoughts. And with that, let me commence this presentation. I think there is some problem about moving the slides.
You may reload, or if the problem persists, the screen
I
share
think
option
I
will-
will reload that. Let me reload.
I found that this if nothing works, then the sharing the screen is the best option.
Okay, then let me do that. That would be probably sharing the screen is a better way.
So we could see your screen, sir. Yes. Yes, sir. We could see the presentation open.
Thank you.
So if you
So,
can just, yes,
at the very
that's
beginning,
fine.
let me start with a small caselet, and let me request the people to go through this and rate this person. At the end of the year, you're going to rate this person, and you have a little bit of data. Whether you rate him outstanding, very good, good, average, or poor is a choice you have. Is this slide visible to all of us?
Yes, sir.
Sure. It's just you need about 2 to 3 minutes to rate this person because there's hardly any matter. So I see one rating coming up. So we have got some ratings. Let's see in the chat how many ratings we have got. So if you see here in the chat, the ratings actually range from, as of now, I don't think we have got all the ratings. We'll wait for a few moments. Has everybody, there are a few more. So I think everybody would have rated by this time. If we see here, though it's I think it's overwhelmingly on 1 and 2, but there are ratings which go up to 4, 3, 2, 1. So for somewhere, from somewhere say very good to somewhere say poor. You are very senior people and you have a wealth of experience. Having worked for 32, 33 years in organizations, I think we have similar experience and we have similar responses. I'd just like to understand from you, do you see rater reliability amongst you? Number one, do you see rater reliability amongst you? So somebody could rate somebody a 4 on the same performance, another person could rate 1. From poor to very good, in 2 minutes we see a large number of people thinking of the ratings in a very different way for the same data that you got. So if I can, and with your permission, I'd like to understand from Oraon, how come you came to the conclusion that this person is to be rated very good? Am I audible? Okay. Yeah, please go ahead. Or let me try with Mr. Chakraborty. How come did you rate this person 1? On what basis have you rated this person 1, which is poor? This person will not get promoted for years together. I think so. I'm not sure whether I'm audible. Am I audible at the other end?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
You're audible, sir.
Okay. Then that's fine.
Maybe we can open it, sir.
So one thing is very, very clear, that we do not have rater reliability. That means the same performance can be rated very differently by different people, and there is no consistency in the ratings that we give. And this is not a sales specific or a plant specific problem. This is universal. Why it happens, how can we rectify it to some extent? I think we will have a conversation on that. Right? So we talked about this. One of the important functions of a manager is to evaluate. Do we agree to this?
Yes, sir.
If to evaluate performance, the day you signed in as a manager, the day you onboarded as a manager, you suddenly became responsible for evaluating people and developing people. We may wish to, but we do not have a choice. The day, and if we think that the conversations or performance are going to be easy, that's a myth. In my 33 years of experience, and a large part of it as a manager, I cannot say I ever had a necessarily easy conversation except top raters. All other people and everybody is not rated as outstanding. So with outstanding people, it was easy for me and it was easy for them. But with all others, the conversation was always difficult. Even with outstanding people, there are areas that you need them to work on. So if anybody tells you that as a manager, you're going to have it easy, or I had a 10-minute discussion with my subordinate and it was an easy conversation, I believe that you did not have a good conversation at all. Performance management and performance discussions are always going to be tough. And it cannot actually be other than that, for the simple reason, if Nilesh ji sits down with his subordinate or Miss Preeti sits down with her subordinate, that day, especially the day when you are evaluating, you sit in judgment, and judging people, labeling, if not labeling people, but judging people of their performance is never going to be easy, because one person sits in judgment of the other. And most of the time, there is only one winner if there's an argument. So it's always going to be tough. And therefore, if somebody says it was a tough thing, I had a 45-minute difficult conversation, I believe that person very easily, rather than somebody who tells me it was easy, performance management was easy, I just discussed and I went off and the other person agreed. I doubt they did not have a good conversation, right? The second question which I have, so this is a responsibility that we cannot escape. We simply cannot escape. Second point is, whose performance is critical to you? Whose performance is most important for you? Can you help me understand that?
Organization performance.
Absolutely. You really hit it on the head. People's performance are important because they add up to organizational performance. By themselves, they would not have been important. And since today, the intangibles contribute, which means a lot of it is people. About 85% of your stock market share price, I think we have no option but to grow people, develop people, manage their performance. And as the world becomes more and more complex, more and more uncertain, and we depend more and more on intellectual capability and motivation of people, do we have any option but to help them grow and help them perform? Do we really have an option? I think we don't. So let's look at some of these things which we were talking about. This is something I would like, Preeti ji, since you said this, why do you think, or what makes you think that candid conversations, candor, radical candor, is actually kind, being kind? What actually makes frank, open conversations kind? Anyone?
Empathy.
Empathy, absolutely.
uh, Feeling for your co-workers or your subordinates or whoever.
Absolutely. Empathy is a very important part of it. Empathy is a very important part of it. Uh, if I hide your moles and warts, if a doctor doesn't tell me what I am suffering from and doesn't treat me, will I consider that doctor a good doctor? If a teacher or a mentor does not help me grow by telling me on what I should focus, would I actually consider that person kind and good?
No.
No. In that case, Sharma Saab, we will discuss about what happens when we try to be polite and manipulative. Being polite is fine, but being manipulative is not. Our own fears, our own inadequacies can get in the way of candid conversations which are critical for somebody's growth. Candid conversations are actually kind, because you give them an opportunity when they have one to develop themselves, later they would not get this opportunity again. If I have to rate somebody not so good at the end of 12 months, the person has a right to ask me, for the last 11 months, what were you doing as my boss? How did you backstab me? Right? Because, and many times we don't even tell the rating. We say, वो ऊपर change हो गया है. Yeah, I couldn't hear you. Okay. So let me.
Ashis ji, may I come in on this subject? I'm Suresh Rangani this side.
Yeah, please do.
See,
Please.
my point is a bit different actually. In my thoughts, being kind in a professional world, to be professional in your spoken words, in your conduct, in your behavior, in your body language.
I have no.
The word you are using as manipulative, I won't say it is the word is the right word actually manipulative. Because you know what happens, जैसे बोला जाता है ना कि एक ही लकड़ी से सभी को नहीं हाका जा सकता है. You as a boss, you have to see that what kind of language is understood by what kind of people. And somehow or the other, you have to speak in that line. But at the same time, you have to conduct yourself professionally, have to have a commercial language, have to have your attitude, your approach, your body language in a professional manner. And instead of stubborn, or instead of being tough, or instead of using those tough words or abusive words. That is what is my way of being a kind in a professional world.
Absolutely. I do not have. I think I resonate with you. When our intent is the other person's growth, to help them become better than what they are, and we use language which is appropriate and do not attack the person, and we will come to that, but help them to understand where they could do better and what they are doing well, that is empathy and that is compassion. Right, we will talk about this. I think you made your point very clear and very useful. So let me see, this is one slide I thought I'll share with you. This is basically related to India. And they have done, PwC did a huge exercise on Indian organizations to find out what are the things that get in the way of effective performance management and conversations. And if you can read this slide, I know it will be difficult, but number one if you see, number one hindrance that they found was with the manager, their inability or willingness to have difficult conversations with subordinates. They have also biases, which we will talk about. They have this cognitive biases, which we will talk about. For employees, they do not believe that the process or the line manager actually is fair. They do not expect a fair outcome, and that's very unfortunate. They also feel that the objectives are not appropriately set or expectations are not clear. These are amongst the highest impediments from the employee. The highest impediment from the manager is inability to have difficult conversations and having biases. If you see here, and for organizations and in the whole process, one of the issues that gets in the way is we measure the sales, but we do not measure the behaviors that have got the sales. We measure production, but we do not measure the behavior of the manager, which has been the reason behind the production or productivity. So the behaviors matter, objectives, KRAs, KPIs, they matter, KPIs matter, and very clearly the ability to have difficult conversation and managing your biases matter. Is this something all of us agree with to some extent? Do you think these are common problems? They are supposed to be, because it was on an array of organizations across public, private, service, manufacturing in India. So if I was to ask Mr. Tushar, do you think some of these things really rattle a good performance management system?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all face these things day in and day out. So I totally agree with it.
Okay. Anybody wants to say something before we move on? Otherwise, we'll move in quickly. there is a myth again that objective measurement is quantification. 200 pieces to be produced, 200 pieces produced. Zero defects, zero defects. But I think there are many things which also needs conclusions that are not on quantification, but measured objectively. And what they are, how they are, is something we will discuss in the coming slides. For example, have you something called behaviors that are measured in your organization? If you see here, performance is measured on business results, maybe production, maybe sales, maybe number of defects, could be project on schedule within budgets. These are business results which are needed to be measured. The other is the values and behaviors. So I could actually get my sales target as general manager sales with 100 dead bodies. Is it okay? Sunanda ji, is it okay if I get my sales target with 100 dead bodies? Who are my subordinates? Dispirited, de-energized, unhappy people. If I get, is it okay?
No, sir, it has to be a combination. It has to be a combination. We have to take into account with whom we are working with and through whom we are getting these results done.
So on one hand, you could have people whose results are not great and who actually behave in an obnoxious manner.
Yes.
Those kind of people, what should you do with them? In the public sector and in the private sector, it is known what they do with them. In the public sector, for God's sake, don't give them people or don't give them important positions. So second is, there are some people who get all the business results, but can take away the credit of the subordinates, damage the subordinates' morale, make them feel very small. What should you do with them? They don't have the behaviors that is expected of them actually depicted in the world of business. What should you do with them?
The answer is not a linear answer.
Huh?
If I may be allowed,
Uh-huh.
there is not a linear answer to this. You know, in a team, you need to have hard hitters. You need to have people who defend. So with only defenders, you can't win a match. With hard hitters, you also have the chance to lose the match more often than not. So as a captain, it's your responsibility. Or I would say, our responsibility to balance both the virtues. Both of them are virtues.
Okay.
You know,
So
being
this is
out there and doing it is also a virtue.
Absolutely. I think very well said, Desab. This is a captain who keeps getting all his team members run out. Or dead body. So these are actually your terrorists. These are your killers. When you promote them and you rate them high, which you did at 4, and they get promoted, people say, what the hell? How did you do it? And when then HR writes a nice mail saying that we have values, we have, we are focused on people, people say, what? What are you talking? And since we do not have a clear measure on a set of variables where behaviors are measured, you only look at one part and you may miss out on the other. So high behaviors and or values, people who follow it at a high level and get business results, they are of course our asset. People who actually follow all the values and the right behaviors, if they don't get the targets, you may give them another chance. But people who are the most dangerous of all are those who consistently hit the targets, but hit people in the process. You really need to focus on them, what you do with them. Is this okay? And I would like you to think about, is this something you measure in the performance appraisal? Mr. Sengupta, I see you again after a couple of days. It's always nice to see you and your smiling face. So, thank you. So, this is something we really need to focus on. What do we do with these kind of people who are, in a way, highly dangerous? They may be good with their bosses, but they can be terrible with their teams. They can get your targets, but they target a lot of people. And this is where we need to focus. So I don't know whether you have this, I'm sure you have this. That is where your subjective, collective subjectivity is objectivity. If you run a sort of survey from time to time, whether these members are depicting certain behaviors which you have decided as important in your company. So for example, if he fails to involve his or her team members in defining goals and planning the ways to achieve team success, would you give her a high rating? Or would you give her a high rating who encourages a sense of mutual accountability in team settings that motivate individuals to do their best? Right? When you have these behaviors and you get a 180 or a 360 or whatever you call it, this behavior is measured by the subordinates, then it actually makes sense to have an appraisal system where you can tell them with objective data, this is where you lack, this is where you are doing well, apart from the business results. Do you have this conversation? Is something that I would like you to mull over, or even let me know. Mr. Sengupta, do you have these conversations with your subordinates?
Yes, after the most harrowing days when the performance results are out, and we have a transparency system now. I still remember this year, the entire day I had to spend with my people.
Wonderful.
They took permission for me. Sir, we would like to meet you. They came, and of course we had a very frank discussions. And to be very frank, personally, I told them that I have already told you, being in your comfortable zone won't help you going up. Up to a certain level, it will help you. You have to go out of your comfort zone. You have to show people that, there is a conception about the computer and IT department, that you are working in a very congenial environment. आपको थोड़ी हॉट मेटल प्रोडक्शन करना है या बीओएफ के सामने खड़ा होकर काम करना है तो काम कीजिए. But then there are many ways to rebut those statements, but still I tell my people that you have to wear a bigger shirt. That's the only way you can do it. So, this time I'll tell you, sir, our this focus on performance management is very objective. It's mentioned clearly what you have to do. These are the marks. I mean, it's very nice way of now. We are apprising themselves. So yes, this is the way. It's a harrowing time during when the performance results are out. But of course, you get a sense of what to say, that you are working as a in charge or you're as an HOD. If people go back with a smile on their face.
That's really interesting. So we were talking about the conversations, but instead of one day, this is a conversation which is ongoing, and maybe we need to actually have conversations which are development for 11 months and evaluation for the last one. Especially when you do evaluation, developmental conversations are not possible. When the day you sit down to judge, you cannot have a developmental discussions. We know that because that's when the brain shuts down. So all the other days in the year, the 11 conversations in the 11 months are feed forward of what you can do differently to bring yourself the laurels that you deserve. And on the last day, I sit in judgment. And he rightly said, but if I do not sit in judgment, then they don't know how well they have progressed. But from month to month, I do help them with the progress. Have these conversations much more frequently, both on the behaviors and on the business results. Your people need that, and they deserve that. And the organization at the end of the day needs it most. Because if your people get poor ratings, you cannot punish the people. You know who gets punished by their non-performance? or poor performance or obnoxious behavior, who gets punished?
Sir, persons who are performing high performance, they are punished.
Absolutely, they get punished.
They are eligible to be punished. They are eligible to be punished.
They get punished also because they have to pull that extra load. And second is your organization gets punished. If our loyalty to the organization is high, then I think we will have to wear the coat of courage and take things on with a very positive stance. So let's get on with the slides. Very well said. I think it's wonderful hearing you.
C07C.
Okay, so let me get on to this. We saw some ratings which were different from each other. Do we have cognitive biases? What are the kind of cognitive biases we can have? What is a cognitive bias? Have we heard of cognitive bias, by the way? Mr. Venugopal. A cognitive bias is the way of thinking we have from our past experiences, which may not be always true. So, for example, if I'm a Bengali, I may think that eating fish is the best thing a human being can do, right? If I'm an old timer, I may think that रात को 9 बजे तक जो बैठता है वो sincere है, जो 5 बजे चला जाता है वो useless है.
That's true. That is true.
So many of these cognitive biases, for example, those today who come in chappals and in the software industry, people come in chappals and shorts, it's okay. But in our company, if they come in chappals and shorts, वो security वाला ही अंदर नहीं आने देगा. But that cognitive bias is useful because it is an unsafe dress in our place. But some cognitive biases have outlived their time. So for example, 5:30 बजे निकल गया तो लड़का sincere नहीं है, right? Duty, he just leaves the moment the clock strikes 5:30. Or any other cognitive biases, Preeti ji, you would like to tell me which managers have?
So normally what you said, this is there is a very strong bias, particularly about the time. The people who are staying back or who are coming on holidays are considered to be more sincere or dedicated compared to people who are doing better time management. Maybe in 7 hours they are giving the output which is not being given by the people by staying back. And sometimes there is a kind of perception also maybe a person was a good worker, but over the time maybe a person who was not a good worker has developed and improved himself or herself and has is contributing more. So we should, people do form a particular concept about an individual, how much they are working, what contribution they are making. But more than that, the exact output should speak rather than the normal money. You have just thought that this person was good, so will be good for years together. That is also, that bias is also there.
So,
ये तो sincere है. That is normally there in an organization.
Sir. So, sorry. So this is very right. That is, one is the halo effect. एक जमाने में बहुत अच्छा था, तो अभी भी वो हर समय अच्छा रहेगा. That's a halo effect. You know, like behind the idols of God, you have those halos, and these people seem to be having that halo effect. उसमें यार उसका promotion miss हो जाएगा, तो इसका rating थोड़ा कम कर दो, ताकि कम से कम marks कम कर दो, ताकि इसका promotion अभी he can get through. So that halo effect is very dangerous. You are not measuring performance, you are measuring an image. Second is horn effect. Horn effect which you talked about. एक जमाने में अच्छा नहीं था, कोई कभी भी अच्छा बन नहीं सकता. I give him less resources, I give him less attention, and also rate him poorly, ensuring that the person doesn't grow. There are many cognitive biases, And managers need to be aware how their cognitive biases are actually hindering or helping the participant, or rather the subordinate, mostly hindering. In this case, you need to have robust open discussions where you can take feedback. What does the other person perceive of your feedback? How do they actually judge your judgment? And when we don't do that, we miss out on changing our mindsets. Our mindsets then become the adjudicators, not the performance. So I think this Pritiji, what you said is so very valuable. We must learn to look at our biases. Just today, I thought I'll just touch on the cognitive biases. It's how we think. So if some managers will talk a lot, argue a lot, they are excellent people. There are some others who think that if this person gives too many ideas, he is not a go-getter, or argues, then this person is a rebel. So our biases can actually range in ratings from 4 to 1, if you can see here, because the material is the same. Material is the same, right? So that's one thing I thought I'll share with you. And we need to look at these biases and manage these biases, because otherwise we'll create havoc. So we talked about this. Today, I will end with this. There are 4 types of conversations. And I'll request Mr. Venugopal ji to first read obnoxious aggression. Then we will talk about manipulative insincerity, ruinous empathy, and radical candor, I think, which was talked about. So can I request Mr. Venugopal to read obnoxious aggression?
Yes, sir. This is personalized attacks and hurts people. Fear and resentment grow. Shouts, look, his flies down.
Okay.
To laugh at his expense.
So have you seen these people? I had an ED, executive director, when I was young, and he had done his engineering from Pune Engineering College. He used to, if you make a mistake, he used to say, "Kidhar se pass kiya hai? कितना क्या दिया था पास करने के लिए?" He would never say कि ड्राइंग में ये मिस्टेक हुआ है. You can always ask, you can always say ये ग्रामर ये टाइपिंग में 3 मिस्टेक हुआ है, or you can always say that how much did you pay to get the typist job? You can attack the person, or you can look at the behaviors and you can look at the errors. When you personally attack people, it is obnoxious. Have you seen some people who do that? When they do that, they destroy morale. That is completely not apathetic. That is actually cruel. It's not apathy, it's cruel, right? Obnoxious. So people attacking the person rather than the behavior or the incident, talking about the incident. They don't say what you need to improve. They give you hints like, which can be detrimental, right? So that is one behavior we talked about. We talked about. Now let's look at another one. Can I request Pankaj ji to read this slide again? Manipulative insincerity. Pankaj ji, is it visible to you? I think some problem with this sound system maybe. Moitra ji, can I request you to read this manipulative insincerity?
Okay, a manipulative insincerity means he lies for his personal gains, mistrusts and sabotaging take over.
You know the person has not done a good job, but you say, I think you tried your best and you did your best. I'm very happy with you. You know he's connected to the director and it serves. Or maybe you are not courageous enough to talk about it. Whatever it is, you are defensive. But your fears are getting in the way of actually helping that person to do something for himself or herself. Have you seen this manipulative insincerity? कौन अपना हेडेक लेगा? रिलेशनशिप खराब हो सकता है. Let me actually have a nice day. हाँ, अच्छा हुआ है. बाद में when the rating comes, he says, अच्छा तुमको ये rating मिला? I never expected. मैंने तो अच्छा दिया था. Have you seen this kind of people? Actually, that is, again, is it kind or cruel? Is it helping or hindering?
It's hindering, sir, definitely.
It's a hindrance. It's an absolute hindrance.
लेकिन
It
अभी
is
मिलना
insincere.
मिलना मुश्किल है सर, क्योंकि अभी तो सब कोई जानता है कौन क्या रेटिंग
Destroy the trust.
No. The feedback that you give, just check with this. And I have checked with, at one time, with 700 people in again a Fortune 500 company. And they said, 600 or 650 of them said, हमको दूसरा कुछ और बताया गया था. For example, on one side it was written, met and exceeded all the targets. In HRD2, which is the appraisal which was earlier not shown, they wrote, would have done much better. I talked to the director and said, ये क्या nonsense है? बोला आशीष मालूम है ना, वो पहले easy targets दिया क्योंकि ताकि problem ना हो, और बाद में he's writing this. So how do we promote this fellow? How can we give him outstanding? We'll have to downgrade him. We don't have an option. Anyway, we will not get into specifics. So this, and everything is open? No. The behaviors actually, when the behavioral indicators are not clear, you cannot rate that person without a 180, which is very, very clear. And in the 180, you have to be sure that they don't scratch each other's back. So that these are different dynamics we are getting into. And we need to put those things in place. 180 means boss is rated by the subordinate on behaviors. And anyway, so those kind of things also have to be put in place so that, and with clear metrics, what are the behaviors expected? The manager doesn't do much. He doesn't produce anything. He doesn't sell anything. But he inspires people, motivates people, gives clear goals, talks about performance, gives feed forward, takes responsibility for their development. So the behaviors that are measured for the manager are extremely different from just the business results, which is basically a resultant of their people working down the line. Right? Both of us who have put in so many years in the organization know that very well. But how many times do we measure that? So anyway, let me get into this. Next one, I will request you to read this. It will help me, Mr. Sengupta. Can you read this? Ruinous empathy.
Yes, sir. The manager is too nice, avoids issues.
Mm-hmm.
This case, positive change cannot happen.
Mm-hmm.
Says nothing. He's worried about his own feelings of embarrassment.
What does it mean? The manager is scared. He may not have done his job well. He may not have given feedback on a regular basis, or he's scared. There are managers who are scared. Have you seen any such manager who cannot speak the truth because they themselves are inadequate? Have you seen any? If not, then that's fine. We are lucky. Mr. Alok, have you seen such who avoid difficult conversations?
Generally, people avoid truth. Subordinate. तो थोड़ा सा मीठा मीठा बात करते हैं, जनरली अवॉइड ट्रूथ. मैंने
बहुत सही बताया आलोक जी. मीठा मीठा बात करते हैं, लेकिन वो नुकसानदेह है कि अच्छा है, ये क्वेश्चन है.
It is dangerous for organization and for the people, for both.
Yeah. So and then the subordinate says, but you never told me. You never ever told me that I had these kind of issues. So he says, so then as a manager, you have failed your responsibility, right? Now, the last one is something I would request Mr. Alok to read out. Can you read this out? Radical candor.
Radical. Cares while being honest, team and people constantly improve.
Okay. So your intention is basically caring. You want to develop that person. You want to grow that person. You want to help that person. Your intention, and the intention matters. Some of our toughest teachers, some of our most difficult teachers, some of our mentors did not make life easy for us. They made us feel safe, but they did not make us feel comfortable.
Yes, sir.
Psychological safety does not mean you are comfortable. They can challenge you. I know आलोक जी ये आप कर सकता है, ये टारगेट आप मीट कर सकता है. If you need help, ask me.
Yeah, this is the best one, sir. But we have to be practical. Organization may there are few people who do this.
And they deserve and they get a lot of respect because they make us what we are.
Yes, sir.
Today we meet them even after retirement. They may have retired. You would like to touch their feet because इस आदमी ने मेरे को जो है बनाया, right? So if we know this, then radical candor is inescapable, is something that is not to be compromised on. We need to tell things as they are, as we see them. Have a discussion, get their feedback, but also ensure that we have an action plan on where they can improve. I think I have run out of time. Otherwise, I'll get a rap on my knuckles. So that's the message for today that I had to share with you. And I got a lot of inputs from you. Any questions at this point of time, I'd be happy to explore them.
Sir, so for the participants, any questions that you may ask directly, or you can use the chat box also, sir.
Yeah, I'll just share a thought. What Ashis sir has just told. See, in our organization, when we are marking our juniors, suppose I am a CGM of a particular shop, say SMS, and there's another CGM in blast furnace. There are some people under me, there are some people under CGM blast furnace, right? So my measuring stick and the measuring stick of the CGM of blast furnace, they are not the same, because then what happens to the subordinates? This is not directly linked to the subject which you are talking about, but this is a general feeling. Some people feel, sir, आपने इतना कम marks दे दिया, उधर देखिए उन लोगों को तो 5 O मिल गया. So this is a general. Everybody would agree.
Abhik sir, I do not have an answer to this question, but we did something, and I think all organizations must do. For example, in CBSE, there is something called rater reliability because the teachers are taught to give marks in a particular way so that A teacher and B teacher give similar marks to similar answer, right? We did it in our organization where we actually help people learn about how to rate with both behavioral indicators as well as performance so that there is rater reliability, they're trained. Otherwise, the disparities can be so huge that it can be really, really troublesome. In the olden days, when I joined 40 years back, the company, we had a senior manager who used to say, "Mera rating, team rating, that is average, is दूसरों का one rating which is outstanding." कंप्यूटर को समझ में नहीं आता है सर. आपका 3 उसको 3 में ही समझ में आता है, एक नहीं कन्वर्ट नहीं करता है. So we need that rater reliability, and actually you can be trained to see that we have high rater. Inter-rater reliability should be around 0.9 to 0.85. That is the max you can get with human beings, but that itself is very large. Here, the rater reliability may be very, very different. It's very, very different. So it's training. Yes. Any other question?
Yeah, Ashish, Nani this side. I want your take whether transparency is good or bad, and secondly, whether bell curve for an organization is good or bad.
First one, I got transparency. Second one?
Bell curve.
Bell curve. Okay.
Bell curve.
Transparency is critical. We did not fight with our teachers when we got different marks and the topper got so many more marks because we knew why he had got those marks. Transparency is important. So that is why rater reliability, transparency are critical to any robust process. In my own performance management workshops with thousands of people, I have rarely seen people give 4 and 5 on a scale of 1:5, where 5 is highest, that my performance management system is fair and transparent. So it's a universal problem, but it is a problem, right? So it is important because if I don't know on what basis you have rated me, how do I actually have trust in you? And if trust is eroded, they will never believe the system or work towards actually getting better marks in the system as well. Second is bell curve. The government of India has taken some decision about the bell curve in the recent times. You may have read that. I'm not going to get into it. But most of the big organizations like GE introduced it, have removed it. But let me give you one small hint. I was talking to a Citibank head, and she was telling me they have no more the bell curve. Some couple of years back, and she told me, आशीष जी वो हटा तो दिया है, लेकिन पैसा कैसे बांटेंगे, उसमें तो पीछे रहता ही है. So one, there was another person, I should not name him again. He is from IBM, the global head of performance management. I asked him, if you have $500,000 and you have to distribute in 50 people, how will you give? He said, I'll give 5 people $100,000. And I said, Glenn, rest about them. He said, let them go to hell. I don't agree to his comments, but I'm talking about the realities in the world. All right. So in your case, I think 20% has to be rated 1. Rest of it is internally discussed. So that parameter is internally discussed. But so bell curves have been there. I don't know whether they're good or not. There are many negatives with it. But one thing is, it helps sift the best of the best into a particular block. So many organizations like that, they will continue with it. So public sectors got it some years back. I think under Mr. Bhattacharya, I had a chat with him, who was the DP secretary. It continued for some time, but now it has been, I think, whittled down to a significant extent. So it has both positives and negatives. Anything else?
A corollary to this, just I want to have a take of yours, the environment difference between the private sector and the public sector or the government sector for these two areas.
For these two things.
Yes.
Now, if you talk about L&T, it has a 7 scale rating with 4.5, 5.5, 5.8, 7.2. It has more diversity, and I'm not there. So it's one of the largest private sectors in India with about 1 lakh of people, right? It has that. If you are talking about Infosys, some of the software, and I should not name this company, I'm sorry. Some of these companies have done away with the bell curve officially, but this money is still unevenly distributed. So it seems that something behind is working at senior positions, which is not very visible, right? I'm not going to say it's good or bad. It has challenges.
Then the system or the rule what has been created, it is not transparent in that case.
It has challenges. It has challenges because when I expect our friend, say for example, Rajesh, to give the best that he can, he gives the best he can, which may not be the best compared to somebody always runs faster. He feels cheated if he doesn't get the best incentive. So there are challenges. There are challenges, and today I'm not going to talk about the challenges on those challenges, but we'll talk about candor. How can you be empathetic, be kind, have the right intention, and whenever you help the person grow and help the person grow from their desires, what they want to be in the company, that is compassionate conversation. So with that, any last question? I think we have just 2 minutes to go. Any last question you would like to ask?
Any last question, sir?
Yeah, I have one, in fact, one query which is coming to my mind. Suppose there is an employee who was not performing well earlier, years before, but today he's trying to improve. Okay, but if I compare him with his peers, his performance is not up to the mark. But in his eyes, he sees that I'm doing I'm giving my best to the company, and I should be rated. I should get a good rating. How this person should be rated? What should be?
So apart from the one, I think you have much more flexibility in the others, and you can definitely rate him good. One means outstanding. Outstanding. That's definitely. Second is, there are a lot of things that the manager has apart from the performance appraisal. That's not the only reward. The manager has immense power with the subordinate. You can send them to a good training. You can send them on a vacation. You can give them leave. You can appreciate them. You can publicly actually applaud them, or you can write to the management about this great work. give an email, publicly acknowledge it. There are hundreds of things. The one thing you cannot guarantee, despite his performing the best of the best, if there are no vacancies that year, a promotion. I think managers have got very fixated with promotions, the only parameter. But a performance measurement system measures many things other than a promotion. His contribution, his effort or her effort, their behaviors, all those kind of things. And therefore, unlike school, where you will always have a position first, second, and third, even if you're first, second, and third, the guarantee of the prize in an organization is not there if there is only one vacancy. So that is a challenge. But promotions are reality. And if you can, one of the things that was seen in Google, as well as I think over 1,003 companies by research through Mercer, is the need to learn and the need to progress. If you can help them learn and help them progress in their career, get a promotion, they really, really revere you. That is without doubt. I can't take it away from anybody. That's true. Yes. Anything else?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think so with the topic, sir. Bipin, sir.
This is Bipin, sir. Actually, it was a very good for all of us to learn. But sir, I have got one doubt that it is said that if you doubt, don't hire, and if you have hired, don't doubt it.
So
what is your take on this?
What is it? You can elaborate.
Actually, sir, in our organization, we talk a lot about employee engagement plan. But hardly we find that there should be a executive engagement plan as well. So as to provide him the right working conditions depending upon their attitude and aptitude, so that everybody can excel in his respective field. I will say one thing, that it is in all management books, it says that if you doubt, don't hire him. If you have hired, don't doubt him. So how it goes in organization?
Sir, I agree with you to some extent, but the challenge is there are many things in the way. We hire people at one level and the person goes up to the chairman level. So there are many times when the person actually, because of lack of training or lack of exposure or many other reasons, who was very competent at the initial grades may not remain as competent. So we have to continuously invest in those people, and that is where managers have a critical role, because a good engineer is not necessarily going to be a good chairman. So we develop them along the way. So whenever they fall short, we have to bring it out. We don't hire we don't doubt their capability, but sometimes we doubt the investments in them. And if they have an attitudinal problem, we need to also coach them. Some of the brightest people sometimes can be very people foolish.
Sir.
So thank you. Thank you very much,
sir. With the topic, I'm sure there are many more queries, but as we have to running out of time, so thank you all for your engaging sessions and active participation, especially in this Q&A session also. And sir, your curiosity and eagerness for learning is totally commendable for all the seniors. But as we near to the conclusion of this enlightening event, it's time to express our gratitude and also to sum up the overall learning in the process. For that, sir, I would request Sri Sanjay Dhar, sir, to please extend the vote of thanks and provide a summary, sir, if you can, for the proceedings, sir. It will help us.
Thank you, Rajesh. And once again, I'd like to thank all the participants in this conversation. I'm sure Sensa will agree, it's a conversation that we had. The basic purpose of Antardrishti is respect your time, balance out the requirements of managing your time, and also providing you triggers for fresh insights. And again, as I said, balance out the trade-off between the intensity and the focus that a physical interaction brings in, and some of the limitations of technology. So what we are trying to do through Antardrishti is provide triggers for just 1 hour on an online platform, so that we can have deeper conversations going forward, maybe sometimes physical programs and a lot of other things that will go forward. But at least we start the thinking process. So thank you very much for participating in it. What we had discussed with Sensa was that fine balance that we at senior level have to manage between appreciating what people are doing well and at the same time reminding them about what they could do better. Figuring out how people have done the best that they could, and also reminding them about how others could have possibly done better, and then maybe because of that, relative to the others' performance, where do they really stand, and what are relative constraints are. Explaining to people the rationale behind where we have placed them, and these are conversations which are difficult, and that was the larger context. Thank you, Sensa, for clarifying to us with this framework of radical candor on what is it that we need to do. Thank you for sharing with us the approach that radical candor doesn't mean obnoxious aggressiveness. Radical candor means demonstrating high care with high challenge. And that is the nub of the whole thing. So mentally preparing for setting high standards for our people, and then holding them up to it, but holding them up to it in a manner where we show that we care for them, and we have high expectations because we care for them. How do we really communicate that to our people? It was the challenge, and I think you have just reminded us to do that. We also appreciate that we are humans. Everybody as human beings would love to have peace. So there's a natural instinct to buy peace. And then thank you for reminding us that, many a times we buy peace by either, insincere manipulation, or if we are not even manipulative, we do that by ruinous empathy. So even as I say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Sometimes what may happen is, despite our attempts to soothe people's nerves and provide them solace, we might actually be doing them damage because we are masking the truth from them. And we inadvertently do that. I mean, thank you for reminding us about that pitfall. Well-meaning people can end up doing bad things for our people without intending to do that. And I think at our stage, our actions have a lot of implications in terms of how we handle people. So you remind us about that. Again, challenging doesn't mean rubbing people the wrong way. Challenging just means that making them aware of where they are falling short and what they need to do. So that is important. And you also helped us understand that results ultimately are not just about the financials or the operational or physical results, they're also about results on people. So what are the values and behaviors through which we are achieving them is also a part of our assessment that we need to do, are some things that you taught us. So we had a good conversation on that. I'm sure we had a lot of interesting insights. We will be discussing these topics going further also in our programs and all that. Again, to carry forward this conversation and provide you triggers, we have not shared it earlier, but I thought I'll share it now. Sir, every time we have the Antardrishti sessions, we also record this session and we provide some reference material. So I'll just take 1 minute to share my screen and show you. On e-Abhigyan, I'll share that through mail afterwards.
For the benefit of the person, I have also posted in the chat box.
Yeah, right. So what we have is, whenever we have this interaction, we provide the reference material and the recording of the session for our people. So the first one was on executive presence with Dr. Balyan, and that recording is also available, and some reference material on further reading it. Some videos, some reading material is available. Similarly, we had the second one on ESG and BRSR with the help of experts from KPMG. And again, that is available. And we have had this conversation today on empathetic communication, which essentially boiled down to the issue of how do we exhibit radical candor. And again, as I said, the recording will come after some time, but there is some reference material available in terms of the deep dive. In fact, the original academic research done on radical candor by Kim Scott, you can actually go through that. Idea is not that we want to dump a lot of academic content on you. It's just there for reference. You can look at it whenever you feel like digging deeper into the subject. What our purpose is essentially is to trigger conversation. I'm sure we in our own offices with our own colleagues will have conversations on these topics, and we'll get a pause in our routine approach to working. We'll have a pause and reflect on certain things and maybe start figuring out what can we do differently. If we are able to make a dent in that, I think we have served our purpose. And once again, I'd like to thank you all for your active participation. And as I said, respecting your time, I understand we would have taken much more time, but respecting your time, we kept it 1 hour. Maybe we started 5 minutes late and we'll be closing another 5 minutes later. But idea is we have provided a trigger and we can always further explore the subject. Thank you very much for being here, and hopefully we'll create a cadence on these interactions also. We wanted to get a good start, so maybe we have be having these interactions a little bit too quickly, but we hope to synchronize it at around once a month. I hope that is okay with us, and I'm sure spending that 1 hour on ourselves is not too much for all of you, and I hope it was worth your while. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you, Dr. Sen, for such insightful interactions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all. Thank you, Ashis sir. Thank you, Sanjay sir, and thank you all the seniors. And as sir said, today is just a beginning, so I encourage you all to be actively engaged even in the next forthcoming sessions also. Thank you all, sir. Thank you.